Peace and blessings, guys. Hope all is well. I want to make a video today, and been meaning to make a video for a while, man. It's kind of crazy how everything happens. First of all, one of the first videos that I wanted to do today, which won't be the first video, is I wanted to do a series on the basics of the concepts of Mashiach, how they relate to Yeshua of Nazareth, the messianic figure that we've known for over 2,000 years. But that won't be the first video. The video that I'm doing now will be a short video. Something that I think is kind of neglected and should be brought to the forefront of discussions. And it is very controversial. Some of these views are my own. They definitely do stick to the scriptures and the sources that we have. I don't mean this to say, I don't want to say this in any, it won't come out in a nice way no matter what. But I challenge people to see the sources. More importantly, check the historical and religious context of what we know as the New Testament, its background. Now, the title of the video will be called The Antichrist, the anti-Messiah, as is known in Christianity, the Antichrist. Okay, that is the title. What is an Antichrist? What is the Antichrist? The Antichrist, characteristics of the Antichrist is everything that is opposite of the Messiah, the Christ of Israel, the Messiah of Israel. The Messiah, according to the Hebrew Bible, according to Jews. Remember that we always have to remember the historical religious context in which the Bible was given to us. It was given to Moses, to the prophets, to the Jewish people. And the Jewish people at Mount Sinai received the Torah. And the religion that we know from the Torah is Torah Judaism. Jesus and the apostles were all Jews within first century Judaism, and they were not Christianity. Christianity as we know it is a later invention that didn't come about for another 350 years. And that by Gentile followers of Jesus who separated from the original hires of the movement. Okay, I've written about this many times. Many scholars have written about the same. The two are not the same. Okay, so I have a few sources that I want to keep in the forethought that I'm going to read. Okay, that are going to help us set the stage for this video, and it is like this. Paul, or Shaul is his Hebrew name, the apostle. He warned about something that would happen in the not too distant future of his life. Paul was not an apostle or a teacher of the Jews. He was an apostle. He was sent to the Gentiles to teach them the emes, the truth, and teach them the real faith. Teach them the faith and revelation of the Creator. So his mission was to teach them the basics, teach them their obligations, something that we know as today as the Noahide Code, which is basic morality of the revelation of the Creator. Which was revealed from the very beginning to Adam, passed on to his line, through his children, all the way till we get to the other side of the flood through Noah and his sons, and they passed it on to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, etc. These secrets, this revelation was soon after Adam forgotten, misunderstood, corrupted. And it was only kept through a righteous line, okay, through the holy tradition as passed down to Abraham. Abraham passed it down to Isaac and Jacob, and finally was reintroduced again at Mount Sinai to the Jewish people who are the custodians of the revelation, okay? So Paul, the apostle, the messenger to the Gentiles, he says this. He has a warning for the not too distant future in his day, and he could see it happening as he was teaching these Gentile communities. He warns in 2 Corinthians chapter 11, verses 1 through 4. He says this, he says, I feel a divine jealousy for you, for I promised you in marriage to one husband, to present you as a chaste virgin to Messiah. But I am afraid that as the serpent deceived Eve by its cunning, your thoughts will be led astray from a sincere and pure devotion to Messiah. For if someone comes and proclaims another Jesus, this is a different Jesus, then the one, this is the true Jesus, we, the apostles, the Jews, proclaimed, or if you receive a different spirit, okay, different spirit is a different teaching from the one you received, or a different gospel from the one you accepted, you are all too willing to listen to it. Okay? That's the first passage. The second passage I want to read to you is from the prophet Isaiah. Isaiah in chapter 11, verse 4, in the ESV, okay, in the English translations, he says this. The prophet is talking about the root of Jesse. And in verse 3, he goes on and he says, and he will delight in the fear of Hashem. The Messiah, the descendant of David, the anointed one. He will delight in the fear of Hashem. And he will not judge by what his eyes see. And he will not decide by what his ears hear. It is taught that one of the characteristics, it's a holy characteristic, a spiritual characteristic that the Messiah will have, is that he will be able to judge by his sense of smell. He will be able to smell the fear of God in people. He will be able to see it, know it intuitively, whether people are righteous or not. It is definitely a prophetic gift, a feeling of the Spirit of God upon the anointed of Hashem. Okay? The verse goes on in verse 4. This is our verse, and it says, but with righteousness will he judge the poor, and with equity he will decide for the lowly of the earth. And then it says, he will strike the earth with the rod of his mouth and slay the wicked with the breath of his lips. Okay? So, how would he strike the earth with the rod of his mouth? This is allegorical. This is non-literal teaching here. Okay, it doesn't have a rod in his mouth, and he cannot slay the wicked with the breath, as is he's blowing out fire or something like this. We all know that this is allegorical, symbolic. What is the symbolism here according to its true natural context and foundation, which is Torah Judaism? The sages explain that the rod of his mouth and the breath of his lips, the breath is a spirit. This is none other than the Torah, okay? The holy teachings of God, which infuse the righteous, okay? This is how he will be able to slay. He will strike the earth with the rod of his mouth by teaching them wrong from right. The Torah has the Torah distinguishes between the good and the bad. The Torah has positive and negative mitzvot, and he will be able to judge correctly. Okay? And he will slay the wicked with the breath of his lips. Okay, now I need to get here to a passage that it is, let me get there real quick, guys. Give me one quick second, please. All right, I think I found it. All right. So, in Targum Yonatan, this is a paraphrase of the Torah, of the prophets. It reads like this. It says, and with the spirit of his lips he will smite the wicked. Targum Yonatan translates the phrase smite the wicked as he will kill Armilus, the wicked. Who is Armilus? The Evnei Sheis, another commentary, records the Targum translation of Rasha, wicked, is Armilus HaRasha, Armilus the wicked. Again, what is this? Well, a couple of years ago, I wrote a long article on this vital topic that we're speaking about here. And Armilus is the English equivalent of what we know as in Judaism, as we know as the Antichrist. Okay, and in the rabbinic sources, we get a lot of information, background of who this person is, what are his characteristics, and it's just mind-boggling. It's just it's amazing what we find there. It's kind of sobering as well. So I want to get to what are some of the characteristics of an anti-Messiah, someone who is an antichrist, right? Before we get there, I want to read another passage of Paul, okay? He has he's going to give us some of these characteristics of who this anti-Messiah type of character is, or who is an anti-Messiah. There can be many. Paul says there are many antichrists. There are many, even now, he says. It's a spirit. It's like a system or spirit that is moving of heresy, of idolatry. So Paul, in a letter attributed to him in 2 Thessalonians chapter 2, verses 1 through 12, Paul says this. He gives character traits about Armilus, about the Antichrist. And it says like this. Now concerning the coming of our Master, Yeshua, the Messiah, and our being gathered together to him, we ask you, brothers, not to be quickly shaken in mind or alarmed, either by spirit or a spoken word, or a letter seeming as if from us, to the effect that the day of the Lord has come, the last days. So don't be shaken. Stand firm in the teaching that you have received. Let no one deceive you in any way, he says. For that day will not come unless the rebellion comes first. Rebellion. Rebellion against who? Rebellion against God. Against his holy instructions. Unless the rebellion comes first, and the man, this is what he is called, Armilus. One of his names is called the man of lawlessness is revealed. What is lawlessness? The breaking of the Torah. Okay? It's Torahlessness. This is one of his names. The man of lawlessness is revealed. That day will not come first until the man of lawlessness is revealed. The son of destruction, another one of his names, who opposes and exalts himself against every so-called God or object of worship, so that he takes his seat in the temple of God, proclaiming himself to be God. Do you not remember that when I was still with you, I told you these things? And you know what is restraining him now, so that he may be revealed in his time. For the mystery of lawlessness is already at work. Only he who now restrains it will do so until he is out of the way. And then the lawless one will be revealed, whom the Master Yeshua will kill. Listen, will kill with the breath of his mouth, and bring to nothing by the appearance of his coming. The coming of the lawless one is by the activity of Satan, with all power and false signs and wonders, and with all wicked deception for those who are perishing, because they refuse to love the truth and to be saved. Therefore God sends them a strong delusion, so that they may believe what is false, in order that all may be condemned who did not believe the truth, but had pleasure in unrighteousness. 2 Thessalonians 2, 1 through 12. This is similar to what was happening to Pharaoh in Egypt, as he continued to oppose the truth which he was seeing with his eyes and which he was hearing with his ears. And so God hardened his heart so that he could not believe the truth, because he rebelled so much against so much truth. It is said that one who continues to do the same sin over and over again, a spirit of delusion enters him, and he believes what he wants. This is done by his own will, by his own destruction. So from these verses, we're going to get some more insights into what an antichrist is, or what the antichrist is, the characteristics and attributes of Armilus, the antichrist, and how these have been ingrained in a system which carries the banner of Jesus. Here's one. He will speak against the Most High, blasphemies, heresies, a foreign system against the Torah. This is in Daniel 7:25. He will persecute the holy ones, the Jewish people of God. He will change the laws of Torah, which is heresy. This is heresy if you can change the law. If the law is done away with or anything like that, this is heresy. The Jewish people, will be persecuted by the people of Armilus for some time. Armilus will not appear until a rebellion occurs after the initial group of Yeshua and his apostles. Okay, this is my insights, of course. According to what Paul says, the Antichrist will not appear until a rebellion occurs from the initial group of Yeshua and his apostles. A rebellion against Yeshua's teachings. Okay, Paul was warning about this, which according to history, traditional Christianity didn't occur until sometime later. Armilus rises up through the ranks of gods. See the Council of the Church Fathers and proclaims he is the only God. Paul had warned the non-Jews that this would happen. The mystery of lawlessness, Torahlessness, which was already at work, is a spiritual concept. Whoever is a transgressor of God's law is a man of lawlessness, an anti-Messiah. The true Yeshua of Nazareth will kill the Armilus. The true Messiah will kill Armilus with the breath of his mouth and his true revelation. Armilus is a work of Satan which is founded not on signs and wonders. It's a work of Satan which Satan has founded on signs and wonders, something very prominent amongst a certain system. Any messenger of God or message of God needs to be founded on the word of God, which is truth. This is the Torah, and the Torah warns about this. Even if a prophet comes and does signs and wonders, but speaks against the God of your fathers, against the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, this is for sure, and against his Torah, this is for sure a false prophet. Like Pharaoh, who continued to harden his heart, and we spoke about this, God gives those who will not listen to the truth to the delusions of their hearts and unrighteousness. Now, there's certain notes that I have here and I didn't want to say them, but who is the only person? There's controversies among this, and it wasn't so in the very beginning. The New Testament has only been read through the eyes of traditional Christianity. So it seems as if the interpretation of Christianity is one with the text. But in reality, it's not so. There's so much history and so many councils that all these things were argued about. And they came about 350 years later through vote and much debate. The other side was never even given a voice anymore. At one point, the majority were people who did not believe Jesus was God in the very early times. But that was snuffed out. And then Jesus was believed to be God. Jesus in the New Testament, according to various scholars, never claimed to be God. We know this. We've read these things. I've written about this and I've done videos on this. Jesus said to pray only to God. He never said to pray to himself. There's controversial texts. There's controversial verses because of the translations of the biasness of Christian scholars and how they have translated a lot of the New Testament, where things can be iffy. But it's mostly due to theology, to the way that the text is interpreted, but not according to its original understanding, its original religious context. These things have nothing to do with Jesus being God. Okay? So, according to the Christian understanding of Jesus, he's God. He's the God who will sit in the temple. He is God. He can do away with the Torah, which is heresy, which in the first 85% of the Bible that Christians believe in, it warns against such a thing. The Torah is eternal and it cannot be done away with. Jesus, as a matter of fact, teaches against anything. He says, do not even imagine such a thing. He says, I came to do it, to fulfill the law, not to annul it, not to abrogate it. Anyone who even teaches against the smallest commandment shall be called the least, shall not enter in. So, changes the times and the seasons of the Jews. Who did this? The first system that came out of the Gentile movement, Catholic Christianity, and all subsequent denominations that came after that, because even the Reform movement that came after that accepted the same dogmas and the same theology of Catholicism. A few things that they didn't adhere to here and there. But Martin Luther was a Catholic monk. He believed in the divinity of Jesus. He believed that the law was done away with. All these things. There is a very interesting midrash. In Midrash Heikhalos, it says like this: the evil king Armilus will arise and tell Edom. Edom is known within Judaism amongst the Chazal, amongst the sages. Edom, from Esau came he had children settled in a place called Edom, and from Edom comes Western society, which is Rome. From Rome, what is left from the political power of Rome and the ancient empire? Christianity. Christianity is still how we still know the Western empires. Europe, America, any country that is a majority of Christians is part of Edom, is part of the Roman Empire, part of Christianity. Okay, so in this source it says King Armilus will arise and tell Edom, Westerners, those from Christian nations. He says, I am your Messiah. I am your God. The people immediately believe in him and unite under his leadership. So the situation that we have here is that it says that Jesus will slay the wicked, slay Armilus with the breath of his mouth, with true Torah. I believe that this is happening today. That it's not that Armilus is a real person. I mean, it could be. There has been many antichrists. Hitler was one. May his memory be erased. And many other wicked people. Hamas is an anti-Messiah movement as well. So, this individual that Christianity accepts as Messiah is in reality what Paul warned about. This is another Jesus. It's hard to bear, I know, but what I'm saying is true. Does not Christianity teach that the law is done away with? It is annulled. They do. Does not Christianity teach that Jesus is God? And this is actually this is the strongest belief in all of Christianity. Does not Christianity teach that the holy days of Israel are done away with? Christianity set up Sunday. Christianity set up Easter. Christianity set up Christmas. Nothing that Jesus ever observed. Nothing. I'm not trying to tell people what they should or should not do. I'm just trying to point them to the facts of what's going on here. I can go on and on, but I didn't want to make this video too long. I have a whole long article that I wrote about this with tons of sources. It's all laid out. Maybe I could link it in the comment section or something. But Everyone should do their homework, match up what I say with the scriptures and with the sources. But definitely, it has to add up. You cannot be moving here by emotion, and we all got to be students of the word. So, all right, guys, peace, blessings.